The encroaching, all-consuming void has crept onto Earth's doorstep. Nothing left in the cosmos but the last planet and the final star. The tongues of entropy lash at the little blue planet, but to no avail, evaporating in its atmosphere. Though the swirling clouds and flowing seas may give the illusion of calm, Earth radiates such a vibrant aura of living chaos that all attempts to swallow it prove fruitless. But while from the outside it's a stronghold, from the inside it may be weakened. 3:12 a.m., October 31st, 2022. A breeze ripples through the orange-soaked field, the harvest moon looming large overhead, dominating the dead, starless sky. But disturbing the tranquil still, a burning flash streaks through the darkness, breaking through the clouds and crashing into the sea of wheat. A mangled, corroded satellite lies in the small crater, half eaten away by the flowing, liquid shadow coating the twisted metal. Flowing out from the satellite, the gleaming goop latches onto the wheat, infecting the crop's roots. Within minutes, the corruption has already blackened the entire field and moved beyond the farm, beginning to infect birds and insects too. Phantom's Brew. Made exclusively at a cozy little ghost-owned coffee shop in Cosmos City, this item is extremely sensitive to the seasonal empowerment phenomena. Drinking the coffee in October, with growing effects as you get closer to Halloween, grants a temporary ghostly transformation. Most people's ghost form is your classic sheet ghost, usually with little personal touches in the details. Each person's exact power set, however, is wholly unique. Some just have fun with the classic flight, telekinesis, and incorporeality, while others get a little more sinister with it, leaning into the possession, hallucination, and poltergeisty side of things. The Mist. Most of the year, the mist is a neutral force that rolls over Gaia and the countryside from time to time. To those caught in the fog, the phenomena induces calm and sleepiness. But leading up to All Hallows Eve, it becomes much more sinister. For one, its previous effects intensify and inverse themselves, inducing paranoia. Then, preying on that paranoia, the mist invades your mind to fill the fog with the sounds and silhouettes of your deepest fears. You can't logic your way out of it either, because though their disguises may be daft, the lost spirits behind your torment are very real and very willing to do real damage. On paper, surviving the mist is simple. Just lock yourself in somewhere, play defense, and wait it out. But people make mistakes, and they can certainly be tricked. But some aren't content hiding away. Some choose to fight. The cocky, unprepared fall hard and fast, but the powerful few, well, they rip through the ever-strengthening waves of mistborn hordes, blazing a warpath to the foggy core of the storm. And there, waiting for the warrior, is a beast. Like everything else in the mist, its form is never quite the same, but it's always a massive, billowing monster forged from churning masses of wailing lost spirits. If the hero has the strength, strategy, and determination to conquer the Herculean battle, their victory will ripple throughout the mist, dissipating the storm and rescuing all those in its oppressive grasp. The Book of Heart. Found in the core of the library Null Zone, this book will show those who journey far enough to find it a single page spread of something. It can be fiction or nonfiction, poetry or prose, ranging from a muffin recipe to an exact excerpt from some romance novel that may or may not actually exist. But whatever it is, it's unique to each person and always life-changing in some real, tangible way. But for the past month, the book's been behaving strangely. Everything it generates has become exclusively related to endings, letting go, death, that kind of thing. That may not seem too alarming at first. Weird, spooky stuff like this happens all the time around Halloween, but the book has never participated in holidays on its own like this before. And it's only gotten worse. As of today, Halloween morning, the book has stopped generating new content altogether, now just reading simply the end. Zara the Skeleton. Normally, Zara has more grounded powers, with a reinforced skeleton and retractable bone claws. But after drinking a phantom's brew, her body and soul alike reacted very strangely to the item. Most noticeably, skeletal face paint just generated on her. But more practically, the brew opened up a whole new branch of her powers. For one, she can now summon bones of all shapes and sizes to be used as weapons, restraints, or platforms from any natural surface. And as for the more phantom part of the brew, she can engulf her summoned bones in a flame-like white aura, allowing her to telekinetically control them as they gain the ability to do pure soul damage. Usually these things are temporary, but Zara's been like this for about a week, and the only change has been that her face paint has gotten steadily more smooth and detailed as it spreads a little. Communion. Two seers sit around a small table in the back of a cluttered fortune-telling shop. An old, flickering television between them, having just finished an enlightening conversation with an entity who they call the Watcher. Or I suppose it's about time to stop beating around the bush. I have grown nervous. I have a plan to take care of everything. Handle the prophecy, push back the darkness, take care of the corruption spreading across Earth, and save the sequential verse. Kind of. But I fear who I previously thought to be my trump card has become a wild one. It's much too late to change anything, though. As always, the moment of truth is tonight, Halloween night. So instead, I've simply tacked on a contingency plan, which is where these two come in, getting a couple extra players on the board in case things go south. The Goddess of Fall. Residing deep in the permafall section of Gaia, unlike summer, Autumn prefers to manage her season from behind the scenes, polishing fall-themed null zones, blessing the coziest of coffee shops, and occasionally empowering individuals, provided they take the oath. But Autumn keeps so busy with the rest of her season that she really can't give Halloween the attention it deserves. So she outsources, handing the reins over the holiday to her old friend, the Nightmare Queen. And serving as the Queen's right-hand woman is Autumn's very own avatar, a vampiric countess by the name of Scarlet. Being a few hundred years old by now, Scarlet has never grown bored of her duties. One side of her yearly mission is the same as her boss's: enrich the holiday however she can. Her way of doing this is by hosting a massive annual multi-day festival. The entire thing put on by 100-strong team of ghosts, vampires, zombies, all the classics, and hosted for everyone. Then, after the final massive feast, one event caps everything off. At the witching hour on Halloween night, Scarlet sires a lucky few to become her underlings. But this year, the party's been put on the back burner, at least for Scarlet herself, because the other side of her duties have come up. The shadowy, corrupting infection spreading across the globe threatens to overthrow the Nightmare Queen's playful villainy with true disaster. So, Scarlet's been in the field all day, ripping through the infected hordes using everything she's got, from her vampiric strength and speed, to her fabrikinesis, to calling on her underlings. And more recently, even the Queen herself has joined the fight to contain the darkness, but to no avail. Every individual enemy falls easily to the unbeatable pair, but it simply spreads too quickly. But then, someone approached Scarlet and her boss during their fruitless crusade. An elegant, three-eyed woman who the two instantly recognized as an immensely powerful, reclusive seer. The type of person where if they approach you, you'd better listen. She offers a suggestion of a more helpful way they could be of assistance, emphasizing that the orders come from very high up. Ghost. This girl, simply known as Ghost, is one of an extremely rare type of restless spirit who manages to both stick around all year and not be tied to any one specific object or location. And what's more, especially with the assistance of Magitech, she can enter a temporary state where she's practically fully physical and immune to the sun. But this extremely unique state of being does come with a price. For one, she has an amnesia for her living life so intense that even seers find it difficult to parse anything worthwhile through the mental fog. And two, her reactions and emotions are amplified to a frightening degree. Most of the time, she exists in a content, almost trance-like state. But if she's angered, for instance, she'll go into a rampaging, blinding rage, and her form will distort into a twisted, monstrous version of herself. A tall, hunched-over wraith with giant, clawed hands, rows of sharpened teeth, and an unhinged jaw. Her warm, white aura runs cold with a billowing, dark purple. Her soft, lightly echoing voice grows deep and distorted, producing more guttural growls than words. And she moves on both 2s and 4s with a vicious, feral speed. But like I said before, she's usually very nice, and her power over all things spiritual is unmatched. Which is why, as dusk swiftly approaches and Ghost is about to lock up her coffee shop for the night, one final customer strolls in. Only the young seer didn't come in for coffee. The keyboardist. Aubrey Walker, a famous composer and DJ known for both her amazing music videos and one-of-a-kind, highly powerful piano. Despite the situation in the world today, Aubrey had some filming scheduled in an abandoned house, and she intends to go through with it. A wonderful display of her determination, though perhaps not her wisdom. Stepping through a collapsed wall into the overgrown backyard, the ground squelches underneath her boot. Mud, she assumes, but she's far more unlucky than that. The tall grass at her feet suddenly runs a glistening black, sharpening and elongating as it twists around her legs. With just one little cut and a single drop of shadow, it's already over. Nobody comes for her for about an hour. Then the man who does isn't exactly there to help. Down in the house's wet, expansive basement, a tangled ring of orange and blue twists open, expanding to dispense a certain android wearing a blue smile mask. Dismissing the flames behind him, the rogue sentinel's firm, methodical steps reverberate through the cavernous cellar as he begins to search for the keyboard. If his calculations are correct, this piano should be the final sacrifice needed to finally open Amelia's portal and free everyone trapped in that desert otherworld. Both his magic and thermal scans come up blank, but as he tries to move on to the next floor, the android almost steps on his target. The keyboard just lies there at his feet, abandoned on the wet cement, but placed just so to avoid resting in any actual puddles. It's an obvious trap, but with no signs of heat or magic. The second the Sentinel's arms are trapped holding the piano, the corrupted bard lunges from the shadows, latching onto his back, cold, blackened fingers wrapping around the neck she doesn't realize is robotic. On mechanical instinct, the android's entire body begins crackling with controlled defensive currents, forcing the snarling woman recoiling off of him. Taking a split second to scan the piano for its abilities, the Sentinel suddenly recalculates his optimal strategy. Pressing a button on the keyboard, a stand unfolds underneath it as a hard light stool flickers into being underneath him. Taking a seat, the android summons some portal energy to dance around his fingers as he plays a half crescendo, forming a portal behind him and sweeping it through the room, bringing both him and his enemy to more neutral ground for their strife. Once they're both through, the robot begins playing a simple, twinkling melody, causing the ring to disconnect and form a flowing strand of sparks that drifts, winding elegantly around him. Carefully watching the flaming light with her black, pupilless eyes, Aubrey assumes a bestial battle stance. Then, with a dramatic chord, the android cracks the portal whip at her. Lip curling into a snarl, the liquid shadow covering the infected musician's body flows over her, snaking down her arm to form a massive dripping claw over her hand. When the energy whip strikes, Aubrey effortlessly swipes it out of the air before bounding at the sentinel and his stolen piano. This time channeling his own energy into his hand, the robot plays a deep, suspenseful track, forming a chaotic barrier. Aubrey tries slashing through the shield, but the energy melts her claw, the inky goop getting vaporized, but protecting Aubrey's actual flesh. But just blocking that one attack already uses up the Sentinel's defense. Barrier flickering out, he's left momentarily defenseless, all the growling woman needs. By the time the robot starts playing a desperate, messy combo attack, it's already too late. Shadowy fangs forming from Aubrey's blackened, dripping teeth, she sinks a bite into his neck, strong and sharp enough to penetrate his reinforced synthetic flesh. The October sun retreats over the mountaintops for what they say is the final time, coloring the sky a rich pumpkin orange. And to take its place, the lonely harvest moon rises into the empty heavens, providing the desperate population of Earth with a weak, meager glow that can't protect anyone from anything. The invading liquid entropy that had found a way to more than thrive even under the sun's glare now reigns over the planet, the hopeless population simply attempting to hold their various defenses for as long as possible. The glitch. Rachel sits, fidgeting in the dark alley, propping herself against a dumpster across from the old television, awaiting her go-ahead. Rocking with anticipation, she stares deeply into the dull purple of the ancient knight's mask clutched tightly in her hands. The night spirit whispers in the girl's mind, egging her to go ahead and do her part. The Watcher specifically said the timing on this is very delicate, but the knight just wants her body a little early. Underneath Rachel's mask, she's not looking too great. Her hair's messy and deep bags have formed under her newly purple eyes. She's not corrupted, she can't be corrupted. The entropic substance simply can't exist within her energetic body. But her state isn't natural either. Need I remind you, she's from a video game. She has a model to stick to. For her to deviate from it in such a big way as this, it's not a great sign. The Flameborn. Every year, the restless souls of the fallen sun-blessed warriors of old rise from their tombs with flaming fury, seeking a vengeance that even they seem to have forgotten. But on this All Hallows Eve, they finally found a glorious purpose again, forging a righteous alliance with their living brethren. The Flameborn and sun-blessed alike wage holy war on the tyranny of shadow that has fallen upon the earth on this dark night. The Scientist. Somewhere in the barren, snowy hills of the motherland, a rejected madman, a vastly skilled seer and magtech engineer, has found himself immune to this corrupting, corrosive substance taking over the planet. Reeling from this unbelievable stroke of luck, the scientist falls to his knees in a fit of disbelieving laughter, shouting his praise into the sky, thanking fate itself for once again proving that he is the one, smart, powerful, and chosen. Seizing his opportunity with gusto, the scientist develops his first test cure in a mere couple of hours, an injection that almost works on most of the infected animals he's found. Results that'll have to do. It would seem things are getting quite rough out there, so for the second version, he'll have to move on to human subjects. The Nightmare Queen. The woman who can put anything to sleep with a glance. The woman who bends shadows to her will. The woman who monsters answer to. She who's ruled Halloween for a century, now overthrown. These new creatures, infected by some impossible liquid darkness, simply refuse to obey her. and the goop itself somehow just isn't within the control of her otherwise unmatched shadow-kinesis. And so tonight, on her night, she's not out there ruling or even waging war. She's just standing here on the edge of the dark desert with a vampire and a ghost reduced to a tiny cog in someone else's master plan. But with the Watcher's promise that, provided there is a next Halloween, she'll be restored to power, well, she supposes she can endure the humiliation. The portal. A shattered mirror stands tall in the core of the darkened midnight desert, its hovering shards crackling with the energy of near restoration, held in place by hundreds of dripping black tendrils eagerly awaiting reunion with the silhouette of the monstrous, winged, ever-shifting beast within the glass. And Amelia, the leader of the portal gang, stands there mesmerized, awaiting, my apologies, I must switch scenes early. Rachel's gone rogue. A hooded woman breezes down the deserted street, her movements purposeful and lilting. She absent-mindedly flexes her antsy, electrified fingers, unintentionally distorting and hue-shifting the light she storms past to a bright purple. Then, head-snapping to the top of a nearby building, Rachel unmistakably spots her target. A young girl engulfed in a blinding light blue aura, slowly expanding her force field, creating a bubble of safety for the population of Cosmos City. With barely a second's hesitation, the glitch lunges for the side of the building and begins bounding upward, dashing, swinging, and climbing in a race to the top. But as for the girl already up there, this is not how Helena expected to be spending her Halloween. Dressed in a dark, slim suit and a striking purple tie, she's still in her costume as she tries to protect as many people as she can from the ongoing apocalypse. Despite her cosmic power, when it comes to combat, she's run into the same problem everyone else has. She can cut through the hordes of shadow creatures like butter, but it's a waste of time. She could fight until collapsing, and the area she cleared would just fill back up within minutes, seconds even. Turns out the most effective strategy is also the most boring one. She can create a barrier that the creatures can't touch, let alone break. So she's stuck sitting up here, alone on this cold rooftop, expanding the area of her shield. It's a task that requires enough focus that she can't do anything else, but not so much that it keeps her from fully realizing how mind-numbing the activity truly is. But after sitting up there for only about 20 minutes, something interesting happens. A masked, hooded girl hoists herself onto Helena's rooftop, having just scaled the building with her bare hands. And when she speaks, the girl skips the pleasantries. "There's a better way to do this," she says, her voice weak, slightly distorted, and a little menacing. Grabbing the old purple mask hanging on her hip, the glitched girl holds it out to Helena. "The prophecy of the cave, of the night and the angel. The warrior spirit inside this mask has chosen you as her only suitable host. Together, the two of you can conquer the darkness before it conquers us." Helena weighs her options, the answer seeming pretty clear. Stay sitting up here helping people the slow, boring way, or get out there and fulfill a hypothetically universe-saving prophecy? A no-brainer. Shrugging, she replies, "Yeah, sure." Accepting the glitch girl's offering, Helena raises the ancient mask to her face. But the instant she touches the cool metal to her face, the girl deeply regrets her decision, but it's already too late. Helena writhes and contorts as an excruciating discomfort, like something crawling under her skin, ripples down her neck and through her body. In the feeling's wake, a tingling numbness fades in, the phantom static marking her soul's loss of control over its own body, and being subjugated into a mere power source for the invading ancient spirit. Watching helplessly through her own eyes, Helena's consciousness stays both alive and awake, but her mind almost dysfunctionally overwhelmed by the blinding, second-hand cosmic wrath the night radiates. Not wasting even a second after seizing full control over her new physical form, the night teleports herself directly to the center of the midnight desert. But, completely unused to both her body and powers, the warrior summons an extreme excess of energy for the trip, demolishing half the building and eviscerating Rachel with her exit. But appearing over the black sands, hovering directly before the shards of the mirror portal, the knight barely even registers what she's done, let alone care. The corrupted sentinel is the first to clock the knight's arrival. Though he was seconds away from sacrificing Aubrey's keyboard to the portal, the android instantly drops the item and raises his palm blaster to the new threat. But before his blast can even half charge, Helena's possessed hand grabs the sentinel's face, effortlessly crushing his head in and filling his body beyond overloading. Then, in the same motion, she bashes the limp, sparking machine into the dark mirror. The hungry shards pulverize the fallen sentinel, scrapping him for the final taste of energy needed to open the portal. With a manic glint of eagerness in her eye, the knight takes a step forward, crushing the forgotten piano underneath her dress shoe, barely even aware of the horrified Amelia standing directly next to her, slowly backing away in panic. Because her attention is fully focused on the eldritch arrival of the Angel, her old enemy and captor.